Hi, my name's Debbie, and this is the You Matter Self-Care Summit for Working Mums. And today we've got Caz Hull, who is a qualified outdoor activity instructor and life coach. And Caz's inspiration is helping people find their inner child and encouraging self-expression in the outdoors. And I have to apologise, we're having reception troubles this morning. So we're trying to do the best, but we've got good audio, so we'll be able to hear Caz, even if we can't completely see in the video. So without further ado, I'll pass you over and take it away, Caz. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me today. As Debbie said, I'm an outdoor activities instructor and life coach, and what I hope to share with you today are some tips on how to motivate ourselves to get in the outdoors and play within the remit of current situations. I want to say thank you for your patience, and hopefully the screen might come back. I know the video is freezing this morning. It sometimes happens in North Wales, so anyway. Thank you again. Firstly, I'd like you to go and grab a pen and paper or an electrical notepad, whatever's close to hand. Maybe you've got a crayon and some colouring books, but a pen and paper would be really handy because it'll help the exercise I'm going to run with you today. And just whilst you're doing that, I'll just quickly mention why I'm here, and then we'll get on with the first exercise. Okay, so very briefly, I've spent years taking residential groups climbing, hiking, canoeing, caving, and I love playing outside. Canoeing was my passion. But following a close bereavement in 2009, that all changed. I moved away, moved into London, went into management. I lost everything that was around me, my stepkids, everything. I worked really, really hard, and I ended up missing lots of family events. I missed all the birthdays, Christmases due to work commitment, and my work-life balance was way out. The day came when I was depressed, I was drinking too much, totally exhausted, and I hit rock bottom. The recovery was really slow, but I got there. And I realised that managing our time effectively is a skill and a challenge. Especially for women, I think, especially if you've got children, partners, work commitments, this journey of trying to balance all that effectively and well is very difficult, and it's something that we will always strive to do better at, but we have to take on board that we do the best we can. So anyway, this long journey of self-discovery led me towards my life coaching, and that's what I do today, and I'm going to help you explore a few things about yourself, hopefully, that helped me. And it's all with the outdoors, and it's a little bit childish, so hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun. So, okay. Hopefully you found a pen and paper by now, and hopefully you're sitting comfortably. I'd like you to think of up to 5 things you enjoyed doing as a child. It might be easier if you close your eyes and then just write the first few things that come into mind. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And just let some of the things that you enjoyed doing as a child come to mind. It's okay, you hit a blank. It sounds a simple question. Hitting a blank is totally normal. Just let it flow. Try and think of 1 or 2 memories as a child, as a good day. If you can think of one, try and think of a day or memory that was fun, and what was fun about it was specific. I'll give you a couple of examples that may help you get going. One of mine was, I loved getting muddy as a child. I loved playing out with my friends. I loved splashing in wellies and in puddles. I loved kicking piles of old leaves. There are a couple to help you go with that. You're more than welcome to use any examples to add to your list if they resonate with you. but it'd be great if you can just think of at least one thing you like doing as a child that makes you smile inside. Okay, hopefully you might have one by now. I'm just going to give you another 30 seconds to think of a couple and get on your list a few more. Okay, I'd like you to choose one of your list. Hopefully you've got one or two on your list by now. Choose an activity you did as a child makes you feel warm inside. That be something you can do now as an adult and something that you can do outside. Put a circle activity, and now I'm going to have to go and journey with me. So run with this a little bit. Obviously, we can't all just jump out and run into the outside right now. So what I want you to do is to circle the activity that you've identified that you enjoy doing as a child, and I want you to close your eyes, put your pen down, and put your jacket on. I want you to imagine walking out your front door, leaving all your work, the kids, everything behind you, and you walk to your nearest green space. Now, I appreciate your brain might be thinking, I can't just walk out the door. That's okay. We will have a look at this in a moment. For now, I'd just like you to go with this thought. You've got your jacket on, you've got your keys and nothing else. No money, no phone. You're playing out clothes, your trainers and your door key. As you close the door, your front door, you hit pause. Everything inside your house, your family, your work, everything inside the house is paused. And now you've got 60 minutes to go and play. You can keep your eyes closed at this point, just go with me, or you can open it, it's up to you. But if you keep your eyes closed, it helps a little bit with this visualization. Okay, so you look left, you look right, and you're deciding where the nearest green space is to you. If you're in a city, this may be a park, it may be a towpath near a canal, it could be a football pitch or a riverside or a woodland. But have a little think about where your nearest green space is. Now I'd like you to imagine that you're 10 years old. You're really excited, you can't wait to go out and play. And on the way, you notice the big trees, you notice all the flowers. You notice the smells of nature that seem to float towards you, calling you. All the colours seem brighter, and your pace picks up everything around you. It looks exciting. You're getting really excited now, like a 10-year-old does. You come across a little wall and you hop up on it and you ring along it and you're shouting with glee that you jump down and you've avoided injury. And a little while later, your green space comes into view and you run over to be there. The sun comes out and you do an imaginary hop, skip and a jump before you arrive where you've decided to play. You've done a little bit of hopscotch and you've been running and you're puffed out. You can smell the grass and you can smell and feel nature around you. You sit down, flop backwards, laid down on your back, and you watch the white fluffy clouds sweep by as the warm earth and the grass tickles your fingers and neck. You lay here a little while, imagining the shapes in the clouds, imagining that they're animals. You're seeing dragons and all sorts of shapes in the clouds, and you're just watching them go past, knowing that you're about to do the very activity that makes you smile. You're going to play. You're just catching your breath. Whatever the activity is that you circled on your list earlier, I want you to think of this particular activity now. A couple of minutes pass, and now I want you to imagine actually doing this activity. I want you to have a look at your face. Look at yourself laughing, smiling. Look at yourself being carefree. Really take in how you feel and try and visualize what you're doing and why it's making you laugh. I'll just give you a moment to really try and capture that. If you haven't got an activity, you could choose one I mentioned earlier, for example, kicking the leaves. So you're 10 years old, kicking the leaves. I want you to have a look at what you're wearing. I want you to really try and visualize yourself at 10. Now, I want you to take an imaginary photograph of you playing, doing that activity. Really look at this photograph. So you've taken the photograph and it's in your hand, and store it in your mind. I want you to try and visualize, if you can, putting this picture in a picture frame before opening your eyes and coming back to the room. Okay, welcome back. You're now back in the room as a grown-up, and you can unpause your house and take in your new surroundings. I appreciate that that activity I've just done with you is quite tricky if you don't visualise regularly, but hopefully you got the gist of it. Thank you for indulging me on our little journey, playing outside. I hope you managed to find a moment of enjoyment, even if it was momentarily and in our imagination. There was a purpose to this exercise though, and well done if you managed to get a framed photograph. Not everyone can achieve that type of clarity of visualization, so if you've managed it, that's fabulous. Now, I'd like you just to pick up your pen again and go back to that first thought of when I said just walk out the door. Because there's probably quite a lot of reasons why you can't just walk out the door. I'd like you to just start writing a list of why you can't right now put your coat on and walk out the door. At the end of the day, we're not 10, are we? We're responsible adults, parents, business owners, etc. So just let it flow, numbering each reason why you haven't got the freedom to walk out and play like we did when we were 10. So it may be coronavirus restrictions, or we've got the kids indoors. Just start writing a couple of things down and let it flow. It may be something like, I know the little one needs to go for a nap soon. Maybe you have to think about sorting lunch for the family or a conference call coming up. Try and be specific if you can about each task and commitment as they pop up into your mind. Just let it flow. And it doesn't matter if you've only got one, it doesn't matter if you've got 10 reasons, just write a few down. I'll just give you a minute just to try and write your list of all the reasons why you can't walk out the door. Okay, hopefully you've got a little list in front of you, even if it's just 3 or 4. And now what I'd like you to do is have a look at the list that you've written down, and I want you to put a heart next to each commitment that is purely an activity for yourself, i.e. self-care or a bath or a shower, painting your nails, doing your hair, getting dressed, putting your makeup on, anything like that. If you've managed any hearts at all, a big well done and high five to you. But I'm guessing most of what's on your list are priorities around your family and work, which is right and proper, and there's no right or wrong answer to this exercise. It's just I'm highlighting that our commitments are often, as women, to others before ourselves. So it might be your commitments are around sorting the kids out, or your business, you've got work commitments. But we don't always think, well, I can't walk out the door because I need to have a shower, do my makeup and see to me. That's not the first thing that comes into mind normally. If it is and you've done that, well done, you're on a good one there. But I did this exercise with my twin sister who's got 3 kids, works from home, and she definitely hadn't mentioned any of them. So let's just say we haven't got any hearts on our list. Okay. we need to have a look at why we do this as women, why we fail to put ourselves first, because this links into why we don't do the things that's good for us. Okay, and I just want to take this moment right now just to congratulate each and every one of you. If you're raising kids and you're working, no matter how well or not you feel you're succeeding at it, fair play and well done, you're doing a great job. It's a big task. I'm going to change the subject slightly now, just to a question that I was once asked in a caving trip. It is linked to the workshop and the chat, but it's just changing the subject ever so slightly. I was on a caving trip, and my instructor said to me, the guy I worked with that I admired, this is hypothetical now, Caz, and you've got a group of children and all 8 of them are 10 or 11 years old. You're taking them caving and you have 2 grown-ups in your group. One's a teacher and one's an assistant instructor. 6 of the children are mainstream school, 2 of them are receiving special education. Who is the most important person in this group? Now, this is a really weird question to ask, and I'll be honest, I couldn't answer him, because I was thinking, okay, I've got certain children with SEN needs, you know, I'm trying to mull it over. I struggled to give an answer, and I said, come on, tell me. This guy had been in the outdoors for a long, long time. He was well respected. He said, it's obvious, Caz, it's you. The instructor is the most important person on the ground. If your safety is jeopardised and you're not well, you jeopardise everybody else's safety. So you're the most important person in the group. Again, as a woman, I found this really hard to understand, because obviously the children are in my care. I saw them as the most important people in the group. But the reason why I mention this is because if you're raising a family, if you're holding it all together and you have dependents, without you being well and without you prioritising you, everybody else is going to suffer. And this was a lesson I learned as a young woman, and I was quite shocked at, well, it's quite true, isn't it? And we often know that we have to look after ourselves, and our health is important. But actually finding the time and the motivation to put ourselves first isn't an easy task. I appreciate that. So this is why prioritising, even if it's just once a week, a moment to be in nature is so valuable. It can charge the whole family up. And I know it's tricky with the restrictions on it in this current situation, but once you've been outside and had a little play, it can really inspire your children to feel better and you feel better. But it isn't easy to put this into our daily schedule. I have to go outside every day, but I know that I need that for my mental health. But each person's different. I don't know your circumstances. It might be that just once a week would be a good goal to start off with. You may go regularly anyway, it's just you haven't thought to play and act as a child. To be able to take the time out from our demands isn't easy. It takes a lot of belief, self-love, discipline and effort, which leads me to the next part of my exercise. Okay, if you had a job interview, for example, and you really, really wanted to put everything in place to enable 1 hour away from your home to make sure you got that interview, I know I'm asking you to pretend again. Let's just pretend this interview is quite a relaxed chat and it's going to be in a park, and your children can join you if you haven't got any babysitting facilities. Now, I'd like you to work through your list that you've written down for all the reasons why you couldn't go out, and I want you to try and come up with what you could put in place to get out of the house for an hour if it was a interview capacity. You can do this now, you can add a couple now, but it might be something you might want to look at later when you can really have a think about it as well. Because finding solutions to how we can access the outside world is something only you can do. In a group situation, we don't know each other's personal circumstances. but I'll give you some things that you can make a note of that might help. You might want to have a think about what support you have, who you can call on. Just have a think of how would you start to think about prioritising this job interview. If you can manage to find these solutions, this is great, because it's going to help you with your work-life commitments, and it'll do a few things for you. When you're in nature, the chaos of stress and pressure in everyday life dissipates. You have time, even if it's minimal. If you're a busy mum, it may only be 10 minutes. You have time to step back and think about how to solve your current issue or issues. And the exercise, even if it's just walking, aids better sleep. And if you get better sleep, you know that everything else improves from that. And just being in the now, which we all know is spiritually and emotionally good for us, is something we really need to have in our life. And if you do that already, that's fantastic. You already know what I'm talking about. But sometimes we know what we need to do, and it's not that easy to do it. Going to the gym and doing lots of health and fitness is something we quite often aspire to do, but it just slips, doesn't it? So, like I say, I don't know each of your personal situations, and I don't profess to. You may be in a situation where the challenge of getting outside with your kids is so overwhelming or not possible at all, especially with lockdown restrictions, that this is something that you find quite stressful to think about. I hope I haven't discouraged you from trying to work it out. I'm just trying to help you come up with some solutions yourself. I simply just wanted to share that with you because I'm so passionate about the therapeutic values of nature. I really think it's something we need to put a lot into our lives. And the other side of it is, if we can put things into our lives where we can take the kids out and go and play, playing is good for us as well as the kids. But I know there's quite a lot of fears. My twin sister, for example, said she's got quite a lot of anxiety at the moment about leaving the house because of the lockdown, because she wants to keep her family safe and well, and it feels safer and easier to just keep indoors. So that's why I want to touch on a few motivation techniques, really, before I finish this call with you and open up for some questions and answers. So I'm going to discuss some techniques that could support us now, motivating us to get outside and play. You may be agreeing with me that being outside and playing with or without your children is good for us, but inside you're thinking, oh, that's just another thing to do. It's just an add-on to my list of an already busy day or demanding lifestyle. And your daily list of things you need to do just grows. Even in lockdown, we're still cleaning the house and we're still doing things. Some of us in lockdown, like myself, are still getting from going to work and coming back and then having to do the rest of it. We know that eating healthy is the right thing to do. We know that exercise is the right thing to do, but doing it is another story altogether. And I appreciate that, especially if we've got low self-esteem, if we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Just doing the very basics in life can be a massive struggle. I know for myself, sometimes I've walked round and round in circles in the kitchen for an hour when I was depressed or stressed or anxious, just trying to work out what I was doing, and it was just to make a cup of tea seemed impossible. So this is why my life coaching side of it comes into it, of some of the things that work for me. When you've been woken up several times in the night, whether it's with anxiety or your kids or your partner snoring or whatever it is, this next day even harder. And then we can end up in this vicious cycle where you're tired, so you can't be bothered to go out, so you don't get the benefits. And then we can spiral down. So some of the things that I'd like to look at and some of the things that have worked for me, I'm going to share with you now. You don't have to take them on board, but it's just something that's worked for me. Okay, the first thing I have to do if I'm feeling a bit anxious is look at my nighttime routine. So do you have a routine? I'm not sure, maybe you do. maybe you don't have a routine, but you do certain things like brush your teeth and put your pajamas on or something. But just have a little look at this. This is quite interesting for you to write down things that you always do, things that you ought to do or you think would be better. I know we're all aware that we should, drink alcohol, smoke cigarettes, have caffeine, stuff like that late at night. We know that we shouldn't do that, but perhaps we do because that's just something we do. It's our routine. So if you just write down, I like to say, you don't have to do this activity right now. You can do it after the video, but write down your evening routine step by step. So if there isn't really a routine, you can write down what you'd like to do as a routine, because we're all intelligent people. We know what's good for us. So things like, I noticed, for example, before I used to work with adults with learning disabilities and challenging behaviour, I didn't really know what my routine was at night. I'd kind of come in from work, I'd have a glass of wine. If I was looking after the kids, I'd sort them out. And it was always a bit of a muddle, hit and miss of random stuff, cooking and cleaning and lounging about. And I never really had structure to my evening routine. And I quite often drunk to try and get to sleep. So I'd have a couple of nightcaps, I called them. But that was really bad for my sleep. I didn't know that then. So even now, even though I haven't got anxiety and depression right now, I still follow this evening routine. And my evening routine is always I have a hot bath. I know that's not practical for everybody else, but I've got back injuries from various crazy stuff I've done in the past. So I always have a hot bath. I always have lavender, the oil lavender by my bed, and I put that on my feet before I go to sleep. I always have a fun, light-hearted book next to my bed, and it's not it's not for reading to go to sleep. Just the process of looking at a book before is the last thing I do is really good, because I'm terrible at playing Candy Crush at night. I'll pick up my phone and take stuff like that into my bedroom, which I shouldn't do. I've worked from home, run a business, so it's tempting to take my mobile in and check if my clients are okay, and I shouldn't do. So I have the book as a, come on, Caz, remember, read your book. Some of the things that I always discuss with clients is your bedroom dark? Have you got dark curtains there, to block all the light out so that you're getting restful, peaceful sleep? Can you reduce the noise somehow? Make sure that, I know your double glazed windows are closed, but think about the temperature of your bedroom as well. It needs to be quite cool to aid sleep. So yeah, that's one thing. Have a look at your sleep routine. Then to have a look at your morning routine. So we've had a look at our sleep routine. I've given you some tips on what works for me. I also use crystals for crystal healing, and I also use meditation at night. The one that I use the most is just YouTube ones, the free ones. Put my headphones in, get my breathing down, do some visualization, and it reduces my anxiety and helps me get to sleep. So obviously, if we've got sleep, we can feel better and motivated in the morning. Then if we have a look at our morning routine, is there anything you can put in place the night before to make your mornings a bit easier? Do you do this already? I know working mums have so much to do. They have loads of little life hacks already that you'll do. But one thing that I noticed that helped me was I put my yoga clothes or jogging clothes on the chair in front of me. So when I get up in the morning, I'm straight away getting into an activity frame of mind. It's tempting when you're working from home to just loll about in your pajamas. And it's really important we don't do this. It's easy to get up, see to the kids. One of them's crying, you're sorting their breakfast out, and before you know it, it's got to 9-10 o'clock and you're still in your pajamas or your dressing gown. It's easy to do. So the morning routines help if you can put something in place so that you're kind of strict with yourself and you get out of bed and you instantly put some jogging trousers on, something that you can do a little bit of exercise in. And then just have a little think, because everybody you know as an individual what you'd like to do more of, and we all have the best will in the world, but you know, if you can share the ideas with your friends and say, just out of interest, but you know, what do you do in the morning? And like the evening routine, break it down. You know, I think after I've had a pee, the very second thing I do is put coffee on. I can't operate till I've had an instant a filter coffee. So I put that in my routine, and it's important I keep that in my routine, you know, but look at seeing if we can put more things for ourselves in the morning, as well as checking your emails, seeing to the kids, stuff like that. So have a look at that one. And then the other thing I wanted, and I mentioned it earlier, was do you have any support around you? I know it's a bit difficult in this current environment to ask friends to come round and help because we've got social distancing to consider, but there's little tips. Like, one thing my sister does is she goes to the shop and bulk buys nappies, and then she'll say to other mums in the village, do you want me to drop round some nappies for you, or cook for you, or get you something from the shops? I'll do you a favour if I can ask you to do me a favour. And this works well in villages. I'm not sure if it might not apply if you're in the city. When I was in London, I didn't know anyone that lived in the street, but I did have friends there. So if you're thinking, well, I haven't really got many people to fall on and ask of, maybe the first step is to think, what can I do for somebody I know, a friend or family member? I don't mean necessarily asking them to come and babysit your kids, but they might be able to help you with some of the things on your list earlier of why you can't go out the door. They might be able to even just give you some time to help you come up with some solutions. But you could think, oh, I'm really good at cooking, for example. I'm doing a really nice Indian curry tonight. I might make a bit extra and offer to drop it at my friend's doorstep when I'm out on my daily exercise or going to the shops doing an essential journey or something. This is what my twin sister does to try and engage her friends to help her a little bit. I know that she suffers from anxiety. I hope you don't mind me sharing that, my darling sister. But she tries to think of things she can do to help others, so that then she doesn't feel so guilty about asking for the favour back. I know that there's a scheme with clothes pegs that people do when they look after each other's kids, and you collect your clothes pegs, and you can do it vice versa, looking after each other's children, but obviously that option isn't available to us currently. But yeah, just have a little think about who it is that you could ask. Have you got a partner that you could have a conversation with and ask for him to watch the kids whilst you go out for a bit? Or could you explain to him and say, look, I think it's really good for us as a family to go out a little bit more. Can you help me get the kids ready, or help me with the business, or help me with something, so that we can all go out today and enjoy the sunshine in a green space when we're able to, you know. And another thing I want you to have a think about is what really motivates you to get going. I mean, I know that music motivates me. Absolutely. I never go for a run, never do any yoga, never do anything exciting that requires physical activity unless I've got my music going. So I have iTunes and my earphones, and I'll take the dog out for a run. I don't always listen to my music when I'm doing an activity and having fun, but I will leading up to doing it, because sometimes I can't be bothered and I'm like, oh, I'd rather just sit on the sofa and, excuse me, I'd rather just sit on the sofa and drink a hot chocolate and mull about the house than get up and go for a walk. So if you have got music, if you have got a love for music, what is it? Can you get a playlist together? I call it my dance playlist. Does dancing motivate you? You know, it's an activity you can do, such as dancing around the room, going woo. Anything you can do, getting your body moving, will inspire motivation when you're feeling like you can't be bothered. You probably know this anyway, but it helps if you write it down, because then you affirm it in your mind that if it's in the back of your mind, I'd really like to go out and enjoy the sunshine, but I can't be bothered. If you've got it written down, oh yeah, a little dance might motivate me. Putting some music on might motivate me. Another thing that's a bit of a tip to getting outdoors is, can you make up a nappy bag or a kid's bag ready so that you can just grab it and go? If a slot appears in your day unexpectedly, for example, I don't know, you can have a conference call with a colleague at 2 and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and they've said, I'm really sorry, you've had to cancel, something's come up, and you've now got a slot between 2 and 3 where you're free. And if you had a bag ready and a good to go bag, if you like, you think, right, okay, then we'll hopefully the kids and I can go out and we can have an hour just walking around the block or walking to the local park and back. Having something already in place where you can just grab it just helps motivate us a bit. Because I know it can be such a drama getting everything together. Sometimes you think, well, I've only got 40 minutes to go out for my walk. It's going to take me 10 minutes to find Casey's sock, and the kids have moved my car keys, and I can't, you know, getting out the door when you're a busy mum can be hard work in itself. So it just eases that up a little bit. And something to consider putting in your good to go bag is a first aid kit. And the reason why I mention this is you don't have to be a first aid trainer, but you're a mum, so you do first aid. So what's handy about having the first aid kit is it takes the fear away from, or it alleviates the fear when we're encouraging our kids to take risks in the outdoors and play. So as a mum, we're naturally going, oh, don't jump that high, and oh, be careful, and come away from the road. We do a lot of safety guarding verbally, and it's risk assessing for our children, which is good, right, and proper. But if we've managed to get our kids to a green space where there isn't really a lot of risk other than them tripping over and hurting themselves, it's really good to encourage our kids to play and take risks. And if you've got your first aid kit in your backpack or your nappy bag, it just gives you that little bit of, do you know what, today I'm going to let them do that. Okay, they might hurt themselves jumping off that. It's a little high, I'm a little out of my comfort zone, but they're not going to kill themselves, not going to break a leg. I'm just going to try and push my boundaries and let them take their risks so that they're playing and enjoying themselves without us going, stop, don't, won't, please don't. You know, it's a very difficult thing for us to do as mums, to let them take risks. And I suppose it's a bit easy for me to say with being an outdoor instructor, I've got the qualifications and the experience of doing that, but a lot of the time, even as an instructor, I would be taking a leap of faith, going, right, okay, this particular jump or from one rock to the other has the potential for slip, trips and falls, and these children could potentially slip, trip, fall, hurt themselves, and I could be doing a first aid situation. But the enjoyment they get out of having the freedom and somebody that's encouraging them to do it is what it's all about. And them enjoying and having fun in nature, it makes you want to have fun in nature. So yes, if you can bring your kids out with you and you can have a laugh and play with them, that's fab. It's good for us, it's good for them. And like I say, if you've got a first aid kit, you've got a mobile phone, if something goes wrong, it's good to take these risks, and it's good to encourage it a little bit more in our friends and ourselves. You might be sitting there thinking to yourself, well, I'm not particularly like that, but I know a mum who's really bad that won't let the kids like move, you might identify with what I'm saying, where you might think of somebody else where you think that they're quite anxious about the safety of their kids. Or it might be you might be thinking, oh, I wish I was a little bit more relaxed so that they could enjoy themselves more. So that's just something else to think about. And then the other thing I was going to mention was, do you have anybody in your family or your friends or your social circle, or maybe even online, where you can have a discussion about constructive criticisms of issues or problems you may have with asking friends and family? I've worded that wrong. Can you think of somebody that you can confide in to talk about any barriers that you may have with people around you feel that could help you more? And what I'm getting at here is, you may be in a relationship, you may be with the father, you may be on your own, I don't know, but invariably there may be somebody around where you think, I wish they could just help out a little bit more. I wish they would do this for me so that I can do that. And we may wish it and we may try and bring it up, but my experience with other halves and partners is, the more I ask, the more they think I'm a nag, and that can escalate into an argument in itself. So it's easy to just do the job yourself, and then we take it all on and we do absolutely bloody everything. And I know my friends and me included as women, we're quite often whizzing around the house doing the housework whilst the other half's watching telly going, why don't you sit down, love? That doesn't need doing now, do it tomorrow. I may be wrong here, but sometimes it's nice to have to think of somebody that you can have a chat with online, that you can, or over the phone, that you can say, look, I really need so and so to help me out a bit more. What do you think I should say to him? And when you bounce the idea off somebody else, quite often you come up with a solution without it hopefully becoming an issue. And they're basically my tips and techniques for today for getting it outside. And I wish I could grab us all and go out in the sunshine and have a good walk, but I can't at the moment because of restrictions. So I'm going to open up to any questions that anybody has, and